What you're doing every night before sleep is destroying your health, and you don't even realize it. You've convinced yourself it's just a harmless way to relax, to drift off to sleep more easily. Everyone does it, right? That's what you've been told, that it's natural, that it helps you fall asleep, that it has no consequences. But what if everything you've been led to believe about this nighttime habit is actually undermining your potential? I'm talking about masturbating before sleep. And no, this isn't about morality or outdated taboos. This is about your brain chemistry, your sleep architecture, and how this seemingly innocent habit is silently sabotaging the quality of your rest, your energy levels, and ultimately, your life. Every time you reach for that momentary pleasure before bed, you're not just enjoying a quick release. You're triggering a cascade of neurological events that dramatically alter how your brain transitions into sleep. You're programming yourself for restlessness, for fragmented sleep cycles, for morning fatigue that no amount of coffee seems to fix. And the worst part? You don't even know it's happening. You've associated this habit with relaxation for so long that you can't see the connection between your nightly routine and your daily struggles. But tonight that changes. Tonight you'll learn exactly what happens in your brain when you masturbate before sleep, and why, after understanding this, you'll never look at this habit the same way again. Second problem: establishment. Look around you. How many people do you know who wake up truly refreshed? Who bound out of bed with natural energy, ready to conquer the day? Almost none, right? We're living in an epidemic of exhaustion, and yet few people are asking why. The truth about masturbation before sleep is far more complex than you've been led to believe. The momentary relaxation you feel is masking something much more disruptive happening in your brain. When you masturbate, your brain releases a powerful cocktail of neurochemicals: dopamine, prolactin, oxytocin, and more. Under normal circumstances, these would simply create feelings of pleasure and relaxation. But when triggered right before sleep, they interfere with your brain's natural transition into deep, restorative sleep. Sleep researchers have identified something critical. Your brain requires a specific neurochemical environment to properly cycle through the stages of sleep. When you artificially flood your system with dopamine and other neurochemicals right before bed, you're essentially throwing a wrench into your brain's delicate sleep machinery. What you're experiencing isn't real relaxation. It's a counterfeit version that feels good in the moment, but robs you of the deep, restorative sleep your body actually needs. And your brain pays the price. Have you noticed how difficult it is to wake up after nights when you've engaged in this habit? That mental fog that seems to hang around longer than it should? The need for more caffeine just to feel normal? That's not a coincidence. That's the consequence of disrupted sleep architecture that began the moment you chose instant gratification over proper sleep hygiene. But this is just the surface of the problem. What's happening inside your brain is far more concerning than most people realize. 3. Credibility establishment. Before we go further, you might be wondering how I can make these claims. For over a decade, I've been studying the relationship between nighttime habits and sleep quality. What began as personal curiosity evolved into years of research into sleep science, neurochemistry, and the growing field of chronobiology, the study of how our bodies regulate time. What I've found is that modern sleep research is actually confirming what ancient wellness traditions somehow already knew. From traditional Chinese medicine's concept of preserving vital energy to Ayurvedic perspectives on proper sleep hygiene, cultures throughout history recognize the connection between sexual activity and sleep quality. But you don't have to take my word for it. Dr. Matthew Walker, a professor of neuroscience and psychology at UC Berkeley and one of the world's leading sleep researchers, has extensively documented how seemingly minor pre-sleep activities can dramatically alter sleep architecture. In his research, he demonstrates how disruptions to our natural melatonin and cortisol rhythms can fragment our sleep cycles. Similarly, Dr. Robert Sapolsky of Stanford University, in his work on stress hormones and neurological function, explains how dopamine-triggering activities can reset our brain's arousal systems at precisely the wrong time for quality sleep. And these aren't fringe theories. The Journal of Sleep Research has published multiple studies on how various activities before bed affect sleep latency, how quickly we fall asleep, and more importantly, sleep quality. What they found is that many common pre-sleep habits that seem to help us fall asleep actually undermine the restorative nature of our sleep. The evidence is clear once you look for it. The question is, why aren't more people talking about this? Fourth, first escalation, sleep quality. Let's get specific about what actually happens to your sleep when you masturbate before bed. Your brain operates on carefully calibrated cycles, particularly when it comes to sleep. Throughout the day, your pineal gland monitors light levels through a pathway from your eyes. As evening approaches and light fades, it begins producing melatonin, the hormone that signals your body it's time to sleep. But here's what happens when you masturbate. The intense pleasure triggers a surge of dopamine, which feels great. But dopamine is also a wakefulness-promoting neurotransmitter. It's literally signaling your brain to be alert and attentive. Exactly the opposite of what you need for initiating sleep. After orgasm, yes, there's a release of prolactin and oxytocin, which can feel relaxing. But this artificially induced relaxation is different from the natural sleep onset your brain is designed for. It's like the difference between passing out and falling asleep. They might look similar from the outside, but they're completely different brain states. When researchers use EEG measurements to look at brain activity during sleep that follows sexual activity, they find something troubling. The normal sleep architecture is altered. You spend less time in deep, slow-wave sleep, the most physically restorative stage, where your body repairs tissues and strengthens your immune system. You also experience disruptions in REM sleep, the mentally restorative stage where memories are consolidated and emotional processing occurs. Think about this. Every night, your brain needs to cycle through specific sleep stages in the right sequence and duration. When you masturbate before sleep, you're essentially telling your brain, don't follow the natural sequence, do this instead. And your brain listens, shifting your neurochemistry in ways that feel good momentarily, but compromise the quality of the next 7 to 8 hours of your life. While you think you're helping yourself relax, you're actually programming your brain for poorer sleep quality. And this doesn't just affect tonight. It affects tomorrow and potentially every day that follows as this habit becomes ingrained. But if you think sleep disruption is the worst of it, you haven't heard what happens to your brain chemistry over time. Fifth, second escalation, neurological impact. Here's what's even more concerning about this habit. The long-term neurological impact extends far beyond just one night of poor sleep. Your brain operates on a principle called homeostasis. It constantly seeks balance. When you repeatedly flood your system with dopamine at night through masturbation, your brain adapts by reducing its sensitivity to this neurotransmitter. This is basic neuroscience. The more often you trigger large dopamine releases, especially at times when they wouldn't naturally occur, the more your brain adjusts by down-regulating dopamine receptors. In plain language, your brain becomes less responsive to the very chemical that drives motivation, pleasure, and reward. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford University School of Medicine, explains that dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's the neurotransmitter of motivation and drive. By repeatedly triggering artificial dopamine peaks at night, you're essentially training your brain to expect rewards without effort. Over time, this alters your baseline dopamine function. What does this mean practically? It means waking up with lower dopamine tone, a neurochemical state where motivation feels more difficult to generate. It means needing more stimulation to feel the same level of drive and enthusiasm. It means starting your day already at a neurochemical disadvantage. Your brain doesn't exist in isolated 24-hour cycles. What you do repeatedly creates lasting neuroplastic changes, physical alterations in how your neural pathways function. Each night you engage in this habit, you're not just affecting that night's sleep. You're literally rewiring your brain's reward circuitry and how it regulates arousal states. Research on porn-induced neuroplasticity by Dr. Norman Doidge and studies on dopamine regulation by Dr. Nora Volkow at the National Institute on Drug Abuse show how reward pathways can be altered through repeated artificial stimulation. While their research doesn't specifically target pre-sleep masturbation, the underlying neurological principles apply directly to this habit. Most troubling is how this creates a negative feedback loop. Poorer sleep leads to reduced daytime dopamine function, which increases the desire for easy dopamine hits, which leads back to the nighttime habit, continuing the cycle. It becomes not just a sleep issue, but a fundamental brain regulation issue. And yet, there's something even more troubling beneath the surface of this habit that affects not just your neurochemistry, but your entire psychological approach to life. Sixth, third escalation, psychological patterns. Yet there's something even more concerning that happens beneath the surface when this becomes your regular pattern. Beyond the neurochemistry, beyond the sleep disruption, this habit creates a psychological dependency that extends into other areas of your life. Think about what you're really doing when you masturbate before sleep. You're training your mind to believe you can't fall asleep naturally, that you need this artificial aid. Over time, this creates a psychological dependency where your brain becomes convinced it cannot transition to sleep without this ritualistic behavior. Sleep researchers call this sleep anxiety, the belief that you won't be able to sleep without performing certain actions. This dependency doesn't stay isolated to your bedroom habits. It reflects and reinforces a broader relationship with discomfort in your life. Each time you reach for this easy solution rather than developing natural sleep hygiene, you're reinforcing a mental pathway that says, I need immediate relief from discomfort rather than developing healthier patterns. Dr. Kelly McGonigal, a health psychologist at Stanford University, explains in her research how our responses to immediate discomfort shape our overall willpower and self-regulation. When we habitually choose immediate relief over temporary discomfort, that leads to better outcomes. We're not just making one decision, we're shaping our default response to all challenges. Ask yourself honestly, how does this pattern appear in other areas of your life? When you face a difficult work project, do you immediately check social media for a quick dopamine hit? When you feel the discomfort of boredom, do you instantly reach for your phone? When you know you should exercise, do you find excuses to avoid that initial discomfort? See the pattern? How can you expect to master difficult challenges, to build real discipline, to achieve your most ambitious goals when your most private behavior reinforces choosing immediate comfort over growth? You're not just developing a sleep habit, you're developing a life philosophy, action by action, night after night. Psychologically, this creates what researchers call effort discounting, the tendency to devalue rewards that require effort and overvalue immediate, effortless rewards. Each time you choose the easy dopamine hit of masturbation over developing proper sleep hygiene, you strengthen this mental bias toward quick fixes in all areas of life. The most successful people understand something fundamental. How you do anything is how you do everything. Your private habits are not separate from the rest of your life. They're the foundation upon which everything else is built. But there is another way. A path followed by those who truly understand how to harness their brain's natural rhythms for optimal performance. 7. Contrast of alternatives. Let's talk about what happens when you choose a different path. There are essentially two types of people in this world: those who control their evening habits and those who are controlled by them. The difference in their lives is remarkable. People with truly restorative sleep, the kind that leaves you feeling energized without caffeine, focused without struggle, and motivated without forcing it, follow specific practices before bed that work with their brain chemistry, not against it. Take Olympic athletes, for example. A study in the Journal of Sports Sciences found that elite athletes prioritize sleep hygiene as a non-negotiable aspect of their performance. They establish consistent sleep schedules, create bedtime routines that gradually lower arousal levels, and avoid activities that spike dopamine or adrenaline before bed. Similarly, successful executives like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates have discussed how they protect their sleep quality with specific wind-down routines. These routines typically involve reading physical books, not screens, gentle stretching, meditation, or writing gratitude journals, activities that gradually signal the brain to prepare for sleep without the artificial neurochemical spike of masturbation. Instead of the fake relaxation from a quick dopamine hit, these high performers engage in true relaxation practices that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, what scientists call the rest and digest mode. This includes deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or specific yoga poses designed to lower cortisol and prepare the body for natural sleep onset. When you replace pre-sleep masturbation with these evidence-based practices, something remarkable happens. Your brain begins relearning how to fall asleep naturally. The first few nights might feel challenging. That's your brain, accustomed to its artificial crutch, adjusting to a healthier pattern. But within a surprisingly short time, your natural sleep mechanisms strengthen. People who make this switch report not just better sleep, but a profound shift in how they feel upon waking. Instead of the groggy, foggy-headed morning struggle, they experience what sleep researchers call sleep efficiency. The ability to wake feeling genuinely refreshed because their sleep cycles progress naturally through the night. The contrast becomes most apparent in overall energy management. Those who deplete their energy and disrupt their neurochemistry before bed constantly feel like they're playing catch-up energetically. Those who preserve and properly channel their energy experience what psychologists call vital engagement, a state of having ample energy for what matters most. The question becomes simple. Which type of person do you want to be? The one who sacrifices deep restorative sleep for momentary pleasure, or the one who channels their energy purposefully and wakes with natural vitality? But before you decide, you need to understand what's truly at stake in the long run. Fourth escalation: long-term consequences. But here's what truly terrifies me about this pattern. The long-term consequences extend far beyond just feeling tired in the morning. We're talking about fundamental changes to your health that accumulate night after night, year after year. When your sleep architecture is consistently disrupted by pre-sleep masturbation, you're not just losing restfulness for one night. According to research published in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews, chronic disruption of deep sleep and REM sleep is linked to alarming health outcomes that most people never connect to their bedtime habits. Your immune function depends heavily on quality sleep. During deep sleep stages, precisely the ones most disrupted by pre-sleep dopamine spikes, your body produces cytokines and T cells that fight infection and inflammation. Studies from the University of Tübingen in Germany show that just a few nights of disrupted sleep can reduce immune function by up to 70%. Think about that. Your nightly habit could be making you dramatically more susceptible to every virus and infection you encounter. The cognitive impacts are equally concerning. Dr. Matthew Walker's research at UC Berkeley demonstrates that disrupted sleep patterns significantly impair memory consolidation. That information you're trying to learn, those skills you're trying to master, your brain processes and strengthens them primarily during proper deep and REM sleep. When these cycles are consistently altered, your cognitive function suffers in ways that accumulate over time. Perhaps most alarming is the connection to serious neurological conditions. Multiple studies published in Science and Nature Neuroscience have shown that chronic sleep disruption is associated with increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases. During proper sleep, your brain activates its glymphatic system, essentially a cleaning mechanism that removes toxins including beta amyloid, a protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. Disrupt this process consistently, and you're potentially accelerating brain aging processes. Think about the compounding effect. If your nightly habit reduces your sleep quality by even 20%, that's not just one bad night. That's potentially thousands of hours of compromised cognitive function, immune activity, and neural cleaning over years. It's like putting slightly diluted gas in your car every day. You might not notice the performance decline immediately, but eventually, the engine will suffer serious damage. Where will you be in 5 years if this pattern continues? Will you still be battling the same focus issues, the same motivation struggles, the same afternoon energy crashes? Or will they have worsened as the neurological impacts compound? Will your memory be as sharp as it could be? Will your immune system be robust or compromised? The research is clear. The decisions you make in private night after night are silently shaping the trajectory of your cognitive health, your physical resilience, and ultimately your capacity to engage fully with what matters most in your life. But here's what most people don't realize about why we fall into these patterns in the first place. 9. Hidden truth revelation. Here's what the sleep industry doesn't want you to know. There's a reason you haven't heard this information before. There's a reason why the serious neurological and health consequences of poor sleep habits aren't common knowledge. Simply put, there's no profit in your natural, healthy sleep. Think about it. The sleep industry is worth over $70 billion annually. From sleeping pills to sleep trackers, from specialty mattresses to melatonin supplements. Companies profit when you believe you need their products to sleep properly, not when you develop natural, healthy sleep habits that cost nothing. But it goes deeper than just the sleep industry. Our entire digital economy is built around capturing and monetizing your attention, especially during those late-night hours when your decision-making is most vulnerable. Streaming services designed with autoplay features, social media algorithms engineered to keep you scrolling, email notifications that trigger dopamine, all are carefully crafted to override your natural sleep cues. Dr. Tristan Harris, former design ethicist at Google, has extensively documented how technology platforms are deliberately designed to exploit your brain's vulnerability to dopamine triggers. These platforms understand that by keeping you engaged during hours, you should be winding down for sleep. They can extract more of your attention, the resource they monetize. This creates the perfect environment for pre-sleep masturbation to become habitual. First, your neurological wind-down signals are already disrupted by screens and stimulation. Then, pornographic content is engineered to be increasingly novel and stimulating, triggering unnaturally large dopamine responses. Finally, the temporary relaxation after orgasm creates the illusion that you've found a solution to falling asleep. It's a perfect storm of neurological manipulation that benefits multiple industries while undermining your sleep quality, neurological health, and cognitive function. Every night you continue this pattern, you're unconsciously playing into a system designed to keep you dependent rather than flourishing. The most concerning part? These industries understand the neurological mechanisms better than most consumers do. They employ neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists specifically to design products and experiences that exploit your brain's natural vulnerabilities. The truly empowered individual is one who recognizes these influences and chooses to step outside them, who understands that real freedom isn't found in giving in to every engineered desire, but in consciously directing your attention and energy toward genuine well-being. But here's where this story takes a more hopeful turn, because understanding these mechanisms is the first step to reclaiming control. 10th, personal agency and hope. But here's the good news that changes everything. Your brain is remarkably adaptable. The same neuroplasticity that created this pattern can be harnessed to create healthier ones. The science of habit change and sleep improvement offers a clear path forward. Research in neuroplasticity shows that the brain can form new neural pathways surprisingly quickly when given consistent input. Dr. Michael Merzenich, one of the pioneers in neuroplasticity research, has demonstrated that even deeply ingrained neural patterns can shift within weeks when alternative behaviors are consistently practiced. When it comes to sleep specifically, the research is encouraging. A study published in the Journal of Sleep Research found that people with chronic sleep onset problems were able to significantly improve their sleep quality after just 2 weeks of implementing proper sleep hygiene practices. Their brains essentially remembered how to fall asleep naturally once the artificial interferences were removed. Your brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle, responds remarkably well to consistent cues. When you replace the confusing signal of pre-sleep masturbation with consistent sleep-promoting behaviors, this master clock recalibrates more quickly than most people expect. The recovery timeline is often surprising. Within the first 3 to 5 days of stopping pre-sleep masturbation and implementing proper sleep hygiene, many people report noticing differences in their sleep quality. By 2 weeks, brainwave patterns during sleep often show measurable improvements in deep sleep duration. After a month, many report what feels like an entirely different relationship with sleep and morning energy. This isn't about willpower or moral strength. It's about working with your brain's natural mechanisms rather than against them. It's about understanding that your neurochemistry is designed to support restful sleep when you align your behaviors with its needs rather than overriding them. Think about what this means practically. Within a month, just 30 days, you could potentially be waking up with natural energy, experiencing clearer thinking throughout the day, finding it easier to focus on challenging tasks, and feeling more emotionally balanced. Not because you're taking supplements or buying expensive gadgets, but because you're allowing your brain to function as it's designed to. The improvements extend beyond just sleep. As your dopamine sensitivity normalizes, activities that previously seemed boring or too challenging often become more engaging. Work that required massive effort becomes more accessible. Exercise feels more rewarding. Conversations feel more present. This is what it means to have your neurochemistry working for you rather than against you. You can make a different decision starting tonight. Your brain is waiting to show you what it's capable of when you work with its natural rhythms instead of disrupting them. The question is, are you ready to experience the difference? 11th Specific Action Plan. So what exactly should you do instead? Here's a specific 7-day plan to transition from pre-sleep masturbation to truly restorative sleep patterns based on sleep research and neuroscience. Night 1. Begin with a replacement behavior. Instead of reaching for sexual stimulation, try the 4-7-8 breathing technique developed by Dr. Andrew Weil. It's simple. Inhale quietly through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 7 seconds. Then exhale completely through your mouth for 8 seconds. Repeat this cycle 4 times. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural relaxation response, without the disruptive dopamine spike. Night 2. Establish a consistent sleep schedule. Go to bed at the same time you did on night 1. Before bed, take a warm shower or bath. Research from the Sleep Foundation shows that the subsequent drop in body temperature mimics the natural temperature decrease that signals your brain. It's time for sleep. Night 3. Add progressive muscle relaxation. Lie in bed and systematically tense, and then relax each muscle group in your body, starting from your toes and working up to your head. Studies show this technique reduces physical tension and anxiety while preparing your body for sleep without arousal. Night 4. Remove all screens at least 30 minutes before your established bedtime. The blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production. Instead, read a physical book under warm light. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that reading reduces stress levels by up to 68%, more than most other relaxation methods. Night 5. Write in a gratitude journal immediately before your breathing exercise. List 3 specific things you're grateful for today. Neuroscience research shows this shifts brain activity from the stress centers to prefrontal regions associated with peace and well-being, creating an ideal mental state for sleep onset. Night 6. Add gentle stretching, focused on releasing tension in your lower back, hips, and shoulders, areas where we hold stress. Hold each stretch for 20 to 30 seconds while breathing deeply. This combination of gentle movement and breathing signals safety to your nervous system. Night 7. Combine all previous elements into a consistent routine. No screens 30 minutes before bed, gentle stretching, gratitude journaling, and breathing exercises. The sequence matters. Each step further prepares your brain and body for natural sleep. Here's what makes this approach different. Rather than simply trying to resist an urge, which psychologists know is an ineffective strategy, you're replacing the habit with specific actions that address the underlying need for relaxation while working with your brain's chemistry instead of against it. The key is consistency. Sleep researchers emphasize that your brain responds most effectively to regular cues. Each night you follow this routine, you're strengthening neural pathways that support natural sleep onset. If you experience difficulty during this transition, which is normal as your brain adjusts, don't resort to the old habit. Instead, return to the breathing technique and extend it to 8 cycles instead of 4. Remember, temporary discomfort is part of any meaningful change process. Try this for just 1 week and pay attention to how different your mornings feel. Most people notice significant improvements in sleep quality, morning energy, and overall mood within this time frame. Enough positive reinforcement to motivate continuing the new pattern. 12th call to action. Now you have a choice to make. You can close this video and continue the same pattern you've been following, pretending that it's not affecting your sleep quality, your brain function, or your overall health. You can ignore the evidence and keep telling yourself it's just an innocent habit with no consequences. Or you can make a decision right now to reclaim your natural sleep patterns, to work with your brain's chemistry rather than against it, to prioritize deep restorative rest over momentary pleasure. You can choose to join the thousands of people who have transformed their sleep quality, and as a result, their daily energy, focus, and well-being. If you're ready to make this change, I want you to do something important right now. Comment below with the phrase, "I choose restorative sleep," not just for the algorithm, but as a public commitment to yourself. There's power in declaring your intentions. Research in behavioral psychology shows that public commitments significantly increase follow-through on personal goals. Subscribe to this channel for more evidence-based content on optimizing your brain function and sleep quality. Each week, I share specific techniques drawn from neuroscience, sleep research, and practical application to help you perform at your best. Remember, this isn't just about avoiding a particular habit before sleep. This is about a fundamental choice in how you approach your health, your energy management, and ultimately your life potential. It's about choosing the harder path that leads to greater rewards over the easy path that leads to ongoing struggle. The quality of your sleep quite literally shapes the quality of your waking life. Your energy levels, cognitive function, emotional regulation, immune response, and even your aging process are all profoundly influenced by how well you sleep, night after night. Tonight, when you go to bed, you'll remember this information. You'll have a conscious awareness of what happens in your brain when you make either choice. You'll know the real consequences beyond what most people ever realize. And with that knowledge comes responsibility. The responsibility to choose what truly serves your highest good. This isn't just a video, It's the beginning of a potential transformation. The question is simple: who do you want to be? The person who submits to momentary urges at the expense of their well-being, or the person who directs their energy toward what truly matters? The choice is yours, and it starts tonight.